I have an update on Donut Labs from our predictions. I've got some predictions updates
Ooh,
for
yeah, I
about
want to hear
six
about
for
that.
2026 predictions updates. So if you remember, one of the things that I had predicted is that there's this company called Donut Labs that showed up to the Consumer Electronics show conference this year with this new revolutionary solid state sodium ion battery that was going to revolutionize batteries and electric vehicles and the world infrastructure. And they kind of made all these really big bold claims.
Hmm.
There was like 10 or 15 different individual claims that they made, um, and none of it was independently verified. And it sounds like they got called on their BS by enough people that they started submitting some of their actual batteries for actual testing. So there's an initial test that came out that was looking at just one of these things, right? So there's kind of two caveats in this. It was looking at just one of the features of all of the things that they claimed. So one of the biggest claims that they made is that it has like a revolutionary amount of fast charging capabilities. So you can take one of these batteries, and I think they said that it can go from like roughly 0 to 100 in like 10 or 15 minutes. Um, so that was one of the claims that they made. And another claim that they made, there's so many of them, but I'm just going to cover these two. But another claim that they made was that it doesn't need any external temperature regulation, because one of the things that happens with a lot of batteries that can do fast charging is that they produce a lot of heat. And if you charge like the battery of your cell phone or something like that, or even just your laptop, a lot of times you might notice that like these devices heat up while they're charging. That's super
Hmm.
normal. And the faster you charge something, the more it heats up. And I've noticed that if I use like a wireless charging device, like one of the little like puck-sized things that you can put a cell phone on or something like that, or like earbuds and get them to charge remotely, um, that also produces a lot of heat. But heat production is like a big issue within battery technology. And they said that theirs basically doesn't produce enough heat. They said that their battery doesn't produce enough heat that it really needs any external temperature regulation at all. So that's two separate claims that they made. But they submitted their battery for testing, independent testing, by this third-party testing company that was going to look just at their charging capacity, right? So just how fast can it charge? They charged it from 20% to 80%, which is kind of the most useful battery range. And that's actually pretty typical for testing batteries, because that bottom 20% and that top 20% is actually really difficult for technical reasons. But anyway, it's a better benchmark for testing purposes to do kind of 20% to 80%, because it's more of a linear range in that area, or it's more of a linear trend in that range. So they charged it from 20% to 80%. At two different voltages, a high voltage and low voltage, and it charged it in like 10 minutes, which is impressive, right?
Hmm.
That is a very impressive thing. So that was one of the claims that they were making, was that it could charge really, really, really fast. So that's a good thing for them. The problem with it is that it produced so much heat that they had to stop the test on the first
Mm.
try. So they also put two, either one or two heat sinks on it, just to try out like what kind of passive heat transfer that it needed for that. So with the original test, they had one or two heat sinks on it. I think they had one heat sink on it, and when they did it at high voltage, it produced so much heat that it went over 90 degrees Celsius, which is like over 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So it got so hot that it would like burn you, right?
Yeah.
And then it went out of the range at which they could safely operate the battery. So they had to interrupt the test and then basically add on a second heat sink, and then run it again. And then it stayed kind of like under the threshold, but it was still over the course of 10 minutes, which is still very fast charging, but over the course of 10 minutes it charged 20% to 80%. But it was like almost 90 degrees Celsius, almost 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So it produces a lot of heat, right? So already right off the bat, right? One good thing for them, it can charge crazy fast. They have a
Hmm.
real battery and it can charge crazy fast. But already it wasn't even one of the things that they were trying to test in that test, and it failed one of those, right? So I'm not going to say that I was right and that they're a total scam yet. Maybe it was a one-off thing. Maybe they'll be able to fix that. But that's a big issue for them. And they claimed like 10 different like revolutionary things for their battery. And so far it can do one of them and it can't do the other, right? So
Yeah.
like if they can't do all 10, then they're a fraud in my opinion,
Yeah.
right? So
Here's my thing. If I'm marketing, I'm getting out there immediately being like, "Hey, if you have leftovers, this thing can reheat them fast. You just
right,
put them
yeah.
on top of this
Uh,
battery, toss that onto the list of things this thing can do."
Yeah, yeah. So I'm not quite ready to claim victory for myself. Even though that's like definitely like a big. I didn't expect there to be an update literally in the very next podcast episode. That was a very quick turnaround time on that, but we'll see how it goes. But I do think it's going to be fast. I think I think 2 or 3 months from now, we're going to know that they basically are just like a decade ahead of everybody else, or they're a fraud, and
Yeah.
not looking good for them on the second part of that so far.
No.
Um,
No, this is
yeah.
feeling a bit like when if you go to like a Temu and you order like an external hard drive and it's like this thing has
Uh-huh.
17 terabytes of storage and then you like plug it in and you can put
Uh-huh.
like 30 megabytes on it. That's what it's
Uh-huh.
feeling like. It's like, "Oh, so you just edited
Yeah.
the thing so it said 17 terabytes on when you plugged it
Right.
in?" Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Why'd you bother to sell this to me at all? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like they could have just shown up to CES and been like, we have a solid state battery and it can charge from 20 to 80% in 10 minutes. And people would have been like, whoa, like they
Yeah.
could have just said that. It would have been true. And people still would have been like, holy crap, look at this. Like they would have maybe not gotten as much good press as they
Mhm.
did, but they would have gotten a lot of really good press. And instead they were just like, but it can also do this and this and this and this and this, and it doesn't need any external temperature control because it produces so little heat.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they try to, yeah, right, like that, yeah. So
This
so
is
we'll
what
see if they can independently verify any of the other claims that they have, because you
Yeah.
assume that they started off with their first independent test with their best feature, right?
Uh-huh.
Like they knew that like, oh, okay, if we're going to do independent testing, we need the first test to go as best as possible for us. So they set it up as best as they possibly could.
This is what happens when you let that kind of dorky guy who would just make up stories in school. This is what happens when he starts a company. Because he's like, he came out there and he was like, yeah, and also, not only does it charge super fast, it does it super cold. And also, my brother bought me a Kawasaki motorcycle and he actually taught me how to ride it. And
uh,
I was in the special forces.
yeah,
Yeah, so that's my
yep,
theory is it's that guy who
right.
runs the company.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no other big updates on the other two. The State of the Union address was yesterday, but I didn't see any like new signs of dementia out of the president.
Yeah.
I mean, same stuff, right? But
Yeah.
that's it. So I did not expect like an immediate update on the on the
Yeah.
battery on the battery one,
I will say
but
State of the
more will
Union
be coming.
wise, it did
Mhm.
let me know exactly why it's difficult for me to find Adderall. It's because somebody has been taking all of it.
Hoarding it all for
Yeah.
themselves. There's a giant stockpile of it somewhere at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C.
That ballroom is just going to be boxes of Adderall.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be the first major state ballroom with an adjoining pharmacy.
Yeah, 100%. The water
Yeah.
fountains have an Adderall water in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
All
So,
right.
yeah, so that's it. That's it for this time.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, follow me on social media. On all of them at ZHJOBE. Yeah, I don't have a lot of interesting stuff going on. I have a couple performances, but who knows when you'll listen to this. So just check out my social media to see if I'm performing.
Fair enough. Yeah, and likewise for me, you can find me at Myelin, the YouTube channel Myelin on YouTube, or by following this podcast. This podcast is available on all major podcast platforms now: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. If you don't like that, then you can use the link in the description to subscribe via RSS feed, like I do. And I also have a website called evolio.org. And thank you for listening, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody.
See ya. Zach, let me tell you a story.